If we can, for the public comments for the speaker, limit it to 3 minutes, similar to what we do during the commission meetings, things like that. If you're going to go over 3 minutes, please see the presenter in the networking break and go from there. That's just so we can get through. We want to make sure that we are efficient with your time. We don't want to waste your time. And we want to make sure we can get through all the presenters because we have a lot of great information to present. So I want to go ahead and apologize. I'm very used to walking around when I talk, and I'm told I have to be here because they film me. Okay. For those that I haven't met yet, my name is John Adler. I'm the Division Chief Fire Marshal here in Alachua County. A little bit of my background as to why I'm standing up here talking to you about agritourism is I grew up in an ag community in Central Florida. I was raised on a cattle ranch, have been in ag my entire life. Ag is near and dear to my heart. And so I bring a lot of that information with me into this. On the agritourism side, I was one of the people that was there when we wrote the administrative code that set the fire regulations for ag. It was a dear friend of mine, Carl Thompson, who worked at the state of Florida at the time, that was tasked to write that code, and I was there with that. I'm a member of the Florida Agritourism Association. Real quick, raise your hand if you're a member of the Florida Agritourism Association. Okay. For those that didn't raise your hand, look at the Florida Agritourism Association. That is not a recommendation from John Adler, Fire Marshal for Alachua County. That is a recommendation from John Adler that's been in the ag service his entire life. And Alan Hitchcock will probably say the same thing. So, how many people here have an agritourism building that they use for their operation? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you have seen me on your property? If not, you're already in violation of law. So we're going to go over some of these laws. We're going to go over the statutes and the administrative code. We're going to get into the definitions. We're going to talk about inspection, classification requirement, some common issues. I'm going to fly through a lot of this stuff simply because in the interest of time. This is normally a 1-hour presentation that I do. I want to condense it down to 30 minutes. That's a lie. It's going to be about 45 minutes because I talk a lot. But you're all going to laugh and enjoy it. Maybe. So, definition of agriculture. Holly already showed this. This is Florida State Statute 570.02. And blah, 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 blah. You can read that yourself. A lot of you already know that. Agritourism. So, this is the definition of agritourism by state statute. Again, as Holly pointed out, and it's highlighted here, and this is very, very, very important. Agritourism activity does not include the construction of new or additional structures. If you build a building brand new that you're going to use for agritourism, you are not exempt from any of the things that agritourism gives you. It's not agritourism. Okay? You're building a new business on your farm. It's not, at that point, agritourism, so therefore does not fall under a bona fide ag operation. Because agritourism, as long as it's complementary agritourism, is a bona fide ag operation. But if you build new and start a business in that new building, it's not agritourism, therefore it's not part of the bona fide ag operation. That's some of the differences in there. Okay? Again, primarily non-residential farm building. For those of you that are going to have a building you're using for agritourism, it must be an existing, and I want to repeat this one more time, existing non-residential farm building. Okay? So this is something that is built primarily for agricultural purposes, not intended to be used as a residential dwelling. If there's any type of residential use, it is not agritourism. So I've seen this before in an agritourism venue that was done correctly. They took a barn, remodeled for a wedding venue, and then they put the honeymoon suite in the building. Guess what's no longer agritourism, and guess what has to be permitted after the fact and brought up to complete new code? Do a house somewhere else with an Airbnb. Don't put it in your venue. Simple solution. So, it's not in these slides, but I do want to mention non-residential farm buildings. This is not agritourism, this is just ag. Non-residential farm buildings are exempt from building code. They're exempt from fire code only if you limit it to under 35 people in the building. So if you have a big farm worker building, a packing house, things like that, you have over 35 people in it, guess what? You can't build it without permitting through the fire side. You're still exempt from building code, you're not exempt from fire code. Please remember that. It can still be a non-residential farm building that has to meet fire code. That is for, and you're wondering, why am I talking about this? This isn't agritourism. This has to play into agritourism. We got to get you through the process to get you to do it in the correct order. A lot of the problems we see is because things aren't done in the correct order of things. So, again, you cannot use any buildings for lodging purposes. Period. Okay? So, again, like Holly said, with our farm stay designation, that's not ag, that's a different classification, and we've recognized that this is an important aspect of your agritourism operation. Okay? It's an important aspect that will help benefit your agritourism operation, glamping, things like that. So the county took the role of putting in what is, as far as I know, unique to the state of Florida. Holly, can you comment on that? Have we seen any other farm stay type things in the state of Florida? I don't think we have. Alan, have we seen any anywhere else? If that doesn't tell you how important agriculture and agritourism is to Alachua County, that's a lot of work to get that up there. That is a lot of work. So just remember, we want you to succeed. We want to give you the tools to succeed. If there is something that will help solidify and help your agritourism operation, the county looks to try to do that for you. Okay? It's not agritourism, because it's lodging. You're not exempt from building, fire code, and all that. But we are giving you a route to get there, to make it easier to get there, so that it can help benefit your agritourism operation. Here we go, look at the exemptions. One big thing, pole barns that meet the definition found in 60 are not included in agritourism requirements. Pole barns, agricultural pole barns are exempt from fire code, they're exempt from building code. The key issue on this, and okay, 70% or more of the perimeter walls must be permanently open and allow free ingress and egress. So a lot of people build a pole barn that has a second floor. That's not free ingress and egress. That's not exempt. A lot of people build a pole barn and then they put two boards up decorative so that people don't go out the sides. You're not a pole barn anymore. It looks like it, it's not. A lot of people close in two whole sides of the pole barn. You enclose more than 70%. It's not a pole barn anymore. Make sure you know the definitions. Make sure you follow the definitions. Okay? It's very important. Again, we want you to be successful. Being successful means that you need to know what is allowed, what's not allowed. And we're here to help you with that. Okay? The statute goes on and says that we're going to make some rules, and we did. And the rules say that we're going to use alternative life safety and fire prevention for Class 1 and 2. And I want to tell you what Class 1 and 2 is in here in just a minute. Class 1, 2, and 3, that's very important for your agritourism venue, for your building, whether it's a venue, whether it's a farm store, whether it's any building you're using for anything on your agritourism operation, that's going to fall into these classifications. And these are very important to know. So Class 1, you're doing no more than 12 events a year, and you're limited to no more than 100 people that occupy the structure at any one time. In this case, you'll follow the fire prevention or the fire safety regulations that are found in the Florida Administrative Code. We'll go over a little bit of that in a minute. Class 2 is your sweet spot. This is where most agritourism operators want to be. Class 2, there's unlimited number of events. You have between 101 and 300 people that occupy the structure at one time. And I am going to talk a little bit about occupant load in just a second, because that's going to be very important. There's a lot more regulations in the administrative code, but you're not into the full Florida Fire Prevention Code. Just so you know, the full Florida Fire Prevention Code is a book about yay big and 1,000 other statutes and codes that are referenced in that book. We teach a 45-hour class just on how to look up code, not what's in the code, just how to look it up. And it's still a pain. So, Class 3 is your larger ones. That's where you're over 301 people or more. For a Class 3, you're going to follow the full Florida Fire Prevention Code. Now, before someone asks, as it always is, what's the big difference between Class 2 and Class 3? Sprinkler system, fire alarms. Remember, you're in an agricultural setting. There's typically not domestic water. Because there's not a water system already out there, a sprinkler system that's going to add about $150,000 to the cost of the sprinkler system. That's not the cost of the sprinkler system. That's just adding it in tanks and pumps. And that's just the sprinkler system side. So unless you're a very successful venue that really needs and has a need for over 300 people, I highly recommend hit that sweet spot of Class 2. And you can always scale up. So you can always go between the classes. Occupant load. It is really killing me not to move. I'm sorry. So the fire official has to calculate the occupant load for most businesses. The advantage for agritourism is we can adjust your occupant load. Now, when I adjust an occupant load down, and I've done this for a couple of our agritourism venues here, I do a calculated occupant load. So we go out, we do the measures, and we use the formulas that are in the fire prevention code. Statute or the administrative code says I'll use either concentrated use or less concentrated use. So the difference is one is 7 square feet per person, one's 15 square feet per person. I come up with that number. If that number is reasonable for me to lower it down, so if it comes up to 800, I'm not lowering it down below 300. If it comes up to 400 or below, we can discuss it. If it's over 400, I'm probably going to sit down with you and let's do some planning. What can you add in to drop that occupant load? Bar space, because bar space is 100 square foot per person. Storage rooms, that's 300 square feet per person, to start lowering that occupant load by structures. But if you're 400 or below, and this is my interpretation, because there's nothing that says how a fire marshal does this. This is my interpretation. If it's 400 and below, I will look at it and we will limit you down to 280. And you go, John, it says 300. Why are you doing 280? Because I grew up redneck. We bring more people than was invited. So I'm giving you some room there. So we do 280, and I ask you to give me some floor designs, seating arrangements. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how many you give me. It's basically you telling me this is a seating plan for 260. These are for weddings, these are for conferences, these are for farmers market, whatever you want to do. What it does, it gives you the opportunity to make sure you don't go over by when your customer comes in, you're having a wedding, please pick from these 5 setups. It makes it easier for you to plan because you know you only have to set up like that. But I also tell you, if you have someone that comes in and wants something totally off the wall that you don't have, draw it up, send it to me. If it's under the 280, I say yes and put it in file. It's just to help me with the liability, and it helps you to maintain it. The other thing that I ask is that you do a log that I'll review every year when we do your inspection. The log is simply, on this day, I had this type of event, total number of attendees and staff. Can you lie to me on it? Yes. But for the most part, it makes people stay. If I come in and I see every one of them said 275, guess what? I assume you lied, and I'm going to tell you you can no longer be a Class 2. You have to go to Class 3. And you're shut down until you do. If I find that someone lied to me on a Class 2 and I tell them they have to be a Class 3, I do not allow you to go back to a Class 2 for 3 years. Plain and simple. I have that ability in law, so I do that. I've never had to do that. I'm very big on compliance through education. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to hinder you. I want you to be successful. And I'll talk a little bit about why I want you to be successful at the end of this. Florida Administrative Code 69A-67. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up, print it out, read it, understand it. That is the guiding law for the regulations on agritourism. This is for buildings used for agritourism. Okay? We're missing a few things, and this administrative code is going to come up next year, year after. It'll be reopened, reviewed, and look to see what needs to be added and not added. I can tell you some things that I'm asking for them to add. fire department access, how do we get there? Some form of regulation over outside events, so you don't have a 5,000 person event with no oversight whatsoever. I'm not big on oversight, I'm not. But I also don't want really big on people not dying. And so it's kind of important to me. So a little bit of oversight in the name of safety. I don't want to overstretch, I don't want to overreach. Again, I'm not here to slow you down. I'm here to make sure you're successful, because a little bit of regulations on a 5,000 person event, make sure you can have a second 5,000 person event and a third and a fourth and a fifth. It gives definitions, requirements, blah, blah, blah. And Class 1, again, if you have an existing non-residential farm building that you want to use Class 1, 2, or 3, real big bold, shall notify the authority having jurisdiction, AHJ, authority having jurisdiction, that's me, for Alachua County and everything but Newberry and High Springs and Gainesville. You have to notify me prior to doing that. Nobody has. No, and that's around the state, just so you know. It's one of those things that's still a new, in the grand scheme of things, agritourism is still a new baby infant. We don't have it all worked out yet. We're working on it, and we're working to get it successful. But you need to notify the authority having jurisdiction prior to using these buildings. By the way, if I start to run over, someone throw something at me. Soft, please, nothing hard. Then we have to do inspections. We have to come out annually to do an inspection to make sure that you're following your classification. It's called a classification inspection. Okay? We do it initially, we do it annually, and anytime you want to change between classifications. And it is a very simple process. Generally, it's me. I come out. My staff, I don't let my staff do it. I do it myself. I come out. We look at everything. We make sure that you're set up the way you need to be set up, that you're going to be successful. And we talk about what you're doing. You know, we'll talk about your operation, what you can do to make it safer. And we look at, make sure that you're following the requirements, whether you're Class 1, 2, or 3 that you find in 69A or in the Florida Fire Prevention Code if you're Class 3. So these are some common issues that you're going to find. And I'm going to blow through these things really quick because you can find them in the Florida Administrative Code, and I don't want to take up too much time of the other people presenting. So combustible liquid gases, hazardous materials cannot be stored inside. How many of y'all have a regular barn that has gas in it? Propane tank? If you decide to use that barn for agritourism, it can't be there. Okay. So I put this up here because to tell you how confusing fire codes are. If you read all of that, and it's got to be comply with requirements of blah, 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 you're going to get frustrated. You're going to sit there and go, what does that mean? Well, your county has people that are employed, me, that can look that up because I actually know that one, but we can look it up and tell you and give you ideas. So I will tell you only because I've run into this before. Had a gentleman had a timber operation, yellowwood pine, used yellowwood pine to close in his pole barn. Guess what does not meet the flame spread that's required there? Yellowwood pine. Because it burns really pretty and hot. But not the end of the world. You just go get a fire retardant thing that you can treat on it. He hired somebody that came in, treated it, good to go. But if you're trying to figure these out, it's kind of hard to figure some of these out. That's why you give us a call. You know, we're here to help you get through this. Some people that have come from other jurisdictions, they're like, wow, my fire marshal wasn't helpful. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I am. This is a big one, combustible vegetation and scenery. How many of y'all have that beautiful white sheer drapery that you drape through the rafters and all that because it's real pretty for weddings and all that? If you have that, please don't raise your hand. I don't want to know. Take it down. Go get the stuff that's treated. Make sure it's, because it burns really nice. And I know that because I've been to a agritourism venue that burned down because they had that stuff through the rafters. And then they had outdoor heaters, the propane heaters. It was a pole barn under there. And over time of the event, it heated up the tin. And then over time, slowly started that stuff burning. Luckily, the event ended. They left when it finally caught off, burnt the whole thing from the top down. That's not what you want to have happen. So again, some of this is common sense. Don't put the things that catch on fire next to the things that are providing heat. I would love to say that we put that in there as a joke, but there are people that haven't figured out, don't put the stuff that burns next to the things that'll start it to burn. But it's job security for me, so. Again, a lot of things here, I put this in just so you see that it can sometimes be confusing. Get with us. We're here to help. We're here to walk you through it. It's not meant to overstimulate you or get you to get a bit overwhelmed. Let us help. That's what we're here for. So I'm going to touch on this very quickly. Mr. Alan Hitchcock is here. He has two venues. One is agritourism, one is not. And typically, I'll let Alan talk about it, but I'm sure he'll talk about it on the panel, so I'll just go over it really quickly. Santa Fe River Ranch is a true agritourism venue. It started as the cattle sorting barn for when they work cows. They still work next to it. I know because we were doing an event out there for fireworks, and I had to listen to the cows holler because they worked them like 2 days before and they were looking for the calves. Music to my ears, I grew up on a cattle ranch. Other people, not so much. That is a true thing. He found that there was a need to have a larger venue, and so he built Valley View. Because he was building it new, it was not agritourism, and he had to follow the full building code, fire code, and things like that. Still a very successful venue, okay? Understand that you can have a venue on your farm that is not agritourism, okay? You just have to follow, you don't get any of the agritourism exemptions, but it's still okay as long as you follow the zoning and everything else that's allowed. You can still have a venue on your farm. It's not an agritourism venue, it's just a venue. Questions, thoughts, concerns, prayer requests, anything? Okay. I rushed through as a bare minimum touch of all the things that are required here. Yes.
Contact information and email.
Sorry, next one. Good segue. So yes, my information is here. Is there anybody here that is doing a venue outside of Alachua County? From another county? No. Okay. I was going to say, if you do or you know someone that is, get with the Florida Agritourism Association. They have, and I can't stress this enough, a fantastic contractor that'll help you with that does the consulting. And I only know that because it's me. I can't do it in Alachua County. Y'all get it for free. But I do have a consulting firm for agritourism. Now, I did say I was going to touch as to why this is so important to me, and I'm going to take a little bit of time to do that, even though I'm probably a little over. I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention. They didn't throw anything at me yet. So, agritourism, the reason agritourism is important to the state of Florida. If you've been in ag in any way, shape, or form, you know that a diversification of your operation is the key to survival. I grew up on a cattle farm. We diversified into citrus groves because when cattle prices are low, citrus is high. In today's world, I can't go buy another grove. I can't buy more land. Typically, we're running out of land. So we have to find an opportunity to diversify your operation on what you have. And that's where agritourism came from. It merged the two leading industries in the state of Florida, agriculture and tourism, together. And it gives you an opportunity to diversify your operation so that you can extend the life of your farm, so you can make it through the hard times and all that. I believe in agriculture, and I believe in the importance of maintaining agriculture. Agritourism is a way to do that on the grand scheme of things. It's not important to y'all because you're worried about your operation, as you should be. But on a grander scale, agritourism is a way to save agriculture, and that is worth fighting for, and that's why I do what I do. I'm going over time, so I want to thank you for my time up here. If you have any questions, see me during the networking, get a hold of me, and thank you very much.